ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ शांति शांति शांति। नमस्कार my dear friends, this is video number 5 on Avadhoot Gita. This video number 5 starts with stanza number 1 of chapter 5. Om iti gaditam gagan sam tat ne parasar vichar iti avilas vilas nirakaranam katham aksar bindu samucharanam. The word Om is like the sky. It is not the discernment of the essence of high and low. How can there be enunciation of the point of the word Om, which annuls the manifestation of the unmanifest, like etc. The word Om is the same as God. Dattatray describes Om to be like the sky, inasmuch as the sky, like God, only seems to have color and form but is really formless. Discernment, etc. In the absolute, there is no distinction of high and low, good and evil, transcendental or relative, point, etc. The word Om is so enunciated that the last letter M ends as it were in an inaudible sound. This represents the transcendental aspect of reality and is called the point or bindu, annuls. Since the point of Om represents the transcendental, its realization negates all relative realities. Stanza number 2. Iti तत्वम असि प्रभृति श्रुतिभि प्रतिपादित आत्मानि तत्वमसि तवमुपाधि विवर्जित सर्वसमम किमु रोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. The Shrutis such as that thou art prove to the thou art indeed that, devoid of adjuncts and the same in all way, those thou who are the identity in all grieve in the heart. Shruti, the text of the Vedas. Stanza number 3. Ad urdau vivarjit sarvasamam bahir antar varjit sarvasamam yadi chek vivirjat sarvasamam kimurodisi manasi sarvasamam. If thou art the identity in all, if thou art devoid of above and below, within and without, and of even the sense of unity, then why those thou who art the identity in all grieve in thy heart, above, etc. Transcendental and relative sense, etc. Not even unity may be spoken of the self, since unity implies plurality. Stanza number 4. Nahi kalpit kalpit kalp vichariti, nahi karan karya vichariti, pad sandhi vivarjit sarvasamam kimu rodisi manasi sarvasamam. There is no discrimination of rules and percepts. There is no cause or effect. That which is the identity in all is without words and the collocation of words. Why dost thou who art the identity in all grieve in the heart? Without, etc. The reference is to the doctrine that words are different aspects of God, but the word that is the absolute God has no components. Stanza number 5. Nahi bodh vibodh samadhiriti, nahi desh videsh samadhiriti, nahi kal vikal samadhiriti, kimu rodisi manasi sravasamam. There is no knowledge or ignorance and no practice of concentration. There is no space or absence of space and no practice of concentration. There is no time or absence of time and no practice of concentration. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? No, etc. Practice of concentration is undertaken to overcome ignorance and attain the knowledge of divine self. But if the self alone is, then there cannot be either ignorance or knowledge or the need to practice concentration. Stanza number 6. Nehi kum nabo nehi kum iti nehi जीव पूर्ण ही जीव इति नहि कारण कार्य विभागिति किमु रोदसी मानसी सर्वसमम. There is no pot, space or pot, no individual body or individual. There is no distinction of cause and effect. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Pot space, the space within a pot which is contrasted with the limitless space outside. Pot space is possible only when there is a pot. Similarly, individuality is possible only when there is a body in the self. No such divisions exist. Stanza number 7. I sarv nirantar moks padam लघु दीर्घ विचार विहीन इति नेहि वर्तुल कोण विभाग इति किमु रोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. There is only the state of freedom, which is the all and undifferentiated, which is devoid of the distinction of short and long, of round and angular. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Stanza number 8. I sunne vihin iti, I visud vihin iti, I sarv vihin iti, kimu rodisi manasi sarvsamam. Here is the one without void and absence of void, without purity and impurity, without the whole and the part. Why dost thou, who are the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Stanza number 9. नेहि भिन्न विभिन्न विचारिति बहिर अंतर संधि विचारिति अरि मित्र विवर्जित सर्वसमम किमु रोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. There is no distinction of the different and non-different. There is no distinction of within, without, or junction of the two. It is the same in all, devoid of friend and foe. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Different, differentiated reality. Non-different, undifferentiated reality. Stanza number 10. Nehi sisse vi sisse savrup iti ne चराचर भेद विचार इति इह सर्व निरंतर मोक्ष पदम किमु रोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. It is not of the nature of disciple or non-disciple, nor is it the discernment of the difference between the living and the non-living. There is only the state of freedom, the all, the undifferentiated. Why dost thou, who are the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Stanza number 11. Nanu रूप विरूप विहीन इति ननु भिन्न विभिन्न विहीन इति ननु सर्ग विसर्ग विहीन इति किमु रोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. It is without form and formlessness. It is without difference and non-difference. It is without manifestation and evolution. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 12. Ne gun guna pas nibandh iti mrit jeev karam karomi katham iti shuddh niranjan sarvasamam kimurodisi manasi sarvasamam. There is no bondage due to fetters of good and evil qualities. How shall I perform the actions related to the death and life? There is only the pure, stainless being, the same in all. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Good, etc. The good and the evil qualities which make up our relative individuality result from experiences of past births. The soul has no quality or karma as it is timeless. Perform, etc. In self knowledge, there is no consciousness of life or death. Stanza number 13. I bhav vibhav vihin iti, I kam vikam vihin iti, I bodhatam khalu moksasam, kimurodasi manasi sarvasamam. Here is the being devoid of existence and non-existence of desire and desirelessness. Here verily is the highest consciousness identical with the freedom. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 14. इ ततो निरंतर ततो मिति न हि संधि विसंधि विहीन इति यदि सर्व विवर्जित सर्व समम किमुरोदिसी मानसी सर्व समम. Here is the truth undifferentiated by truths, devoid of junction and disjunction, since it is the same in all and devoid of all. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Undifferentiated, etc., not containing lesser relative truths, junction, etc., of Purusha and Prakriti, soul and matter. Devoid, the self is not the aggregate of any or all realities. Stanza number 15. अनिकेत कुटी परिवारसम इह संग विसंग विहीन परम इह बोध विबोध विहीन परम किमुरोदसी मानसी सर्व समम. Here is the supreme, devoid of association and disassociation, unlike a house, cottage, or seat. Here is the supreme, devoid of knowledge and ignorance. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Unlike, etc. The self is not the receptacle in which the infinite realities of the universe are contained, as a house, cottage, or seat holds objects within it. अविकार विकार मत समिति, अविलक्ष विलक्ष सत्यमिति, यदि केवल मातमनि सत्यमिति किमुरोदसी मानसी सर्वसमम. Stanza number change and changelessness, the definable and the indefinable are untrue. If the truth is in the self alone, why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? I sarva samam khalu जीव इति, ई सर्व निरंतर जीव इति, ई केवल निश्चल जीव इति, किमुरोदसी मानसी सर्व समम. Here verily is the conscious being who is completely the all. Here is the conscious being who is all comprehensive and undivided. Here is the conscious being alone and immutable. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Stanza number 18. अविवेक विवेक बोध इति, अविकल्प विकल्प बोध इति, यदि चैक निरंतर बोध इति, किमुरोदसी मानसी सर्वसम. It is ignorance to see difference in the undifferentiated. Doubt in what is beyond doubt is ignorance. If there is only the one undivided consciousness, then why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 19. Nahi moksha padam, nahi bandh padam, न हि पुण्य पदम न हि पाप पदम न हि पर्ण पदम न हि रिक्त पदम किमु रोदिसी मानसी स्रव समम. There is no state of liberation, no state of bondage, no state of virtue, no state of vice. There is no state of perfection and no state of destruction. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in the heart? Stanza number 20. यदि वर्ण विवर्ण विहीन समम, यदि कारण कार्य विहीन समम, यदि भेद विभेद विहीन समम, किमु रोदसी मानसी स्रव समम. If the homogeneous being is devoid of cause and effect, division and subdivision, color and lack of color, then why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 21. ईश सर्व निरंतर सर्वचिते, इह केवल निश्चल सर्वचिते, दिवि पदादि विवर्जिते सर्वचिते, किमु रोदसी मानसी सर्वसमम. The self is here in the universal consciousness, which is the all and undivided. It is here in the universal consciousness, which is absolute and immovable. It is here in the universal consciousness, which is devoid of man and other beings. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 22. Ati Srav Nirantram Sravgatam, Ati Nirmal Nischal Sravgatam, Din Ratri Vivarjit Sravgatam, Kimurodisi Manasi Sravsamam. The self transcends all, is indivisible and all-pervading. It is free from stain of attachment, immovable and all-pervading. It is without day and night and all-pervading. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 23. नहीं बंद विबंध समागम गमनम, नहीं योग वियोग समागमनम, नहीं तर्क वितर्क समागमनम, किमु रोदसी मानसी स्रव sumam. There is no coming of bondage and freedom from bondage. There is no coming of union and separation. There is no coming of reasoning and disputation. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 24. Ih kal vikal nirakaranam, अणु मात्र कर्षाणु निराकरणम, नहीं केवल सत्य निराकरणम, किमु रोदसी मानसी स्रव समम. Here is the negation of time, untime, and even the atom of fire, but no negation of the absolute truth. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Atom, etc. Fire is one of the five original elements of which the phenomenal universe is made. Here fire stands for all the five elements. Stanza number 25. Ih devi devi hir iti, nanu sopan susupti vihin param, अभिधान विधान विहीन परम, किमुरोदसी मानसी स्रव समम. Here is the self devoid of body and disembodiment. Here verily is the supreme one devoid of dream and deep sleep. Here is the supreme one devoid of name and injunctions. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all, grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 26. गगनोपशुद्ध विशाल समम, अति सर्वे विवर्जित सर्व समम, गतसार विसार विकार समम, किमुरोदसी मानसी स्रव समम. Pure, vast and homogeneous like the sky, the self is the same in all and devoid of all. It is the homogeneous being divested of essence, non-essence and change. Why dost thou, who art the identity in all grieve in thy heart. Stanza number 27. E dharam vidharam viragtaram nih vastu vivastu viragatram e kam vikar viragatram kimurodisi manasi sravasamam. Here is the self which is more than dispassionate to virtue and vice, to substance and non-substance, to desire and desirelessness. Why dost thou who are the identity in all grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 28. Sukh dukh vivirjit sarv samam mi shok vishok vihin param guru sise vivirjit tattva param kim rodisi manasam sarv samam. Here is the self, the same in all, which is without grief and grieflessness. Here is the supreme without happiness and sorrow. The supreme truth is devoid of teacher and disciple. Why dost thou who are the identity in all grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 29. ने किला कुल सार विसार इति ने चला चल साम्य विसा सम्मति अविचार विचार विहीन समिति किमुरो दिशि मानसी सर्वसमम. Verily, there is no offshoot, essence, or absence of essence, neither is there the movable nor the immovable, sameness nor variety. The self is devoid of reason and unreason. Why dost thou who art the identity in all grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 30. ईसार समुच्चय सार समिति कथितम निज भाव विभेद इति विशेषणत्व मत सत्यमिति किमुरोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. Here is the essence, the concentration of all essences, which is said to be different from one's individual consciousness. To be the instrument of the perception of objects is unreal. Why dost thou who art the identity in all grieve in thy heart? Instrument, etc. The self or pure consciousness is absolute and has nothing to do with any object. Stanza number 31. Bahuda shrutayah parvadanti yato vyeda virindram मृगत्वय समम यदि चैक निरंतरम सर्वसमम किमुरोदिसी मानसी सर्वसमम. Since the Vedas have declared variously that this universe made of ether and the like is like a mirage, and since the self is one, indivisible and same in all, why dost thou who art the identity in all grieve in thy heart? Stanza number 32. विन्दति विन्दति न हि यत्र छन्दो लक्षणं न हि तत्र समग्नो भाववित् पुतः प्रलपति तत्वं परमवधूत. Where one knows nothing, there is verily no versification. The supreme and free one, pure of thought, absorbed in the consciousness of the homogeneous being, prattles about the truth. Prattles, the highest truth cannot be expressed. Whatever is said about it is at least partly nonsensical. Chapter number 6, stanza number 1. I think I should end this video here. Chapter number 6 I will take in next video number 6. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment and share the video and subscribe the channel. Thanks a lot. Namaskar.